Right, you're watching TVC Breakfast, and in this segment we'll be talking about the travel ban that the Presidential Steering Committee has imposed on about 2,000 people who violated the travel protocols that were laid down COVID-19. I have with me in the studio the Executive Director, Health Emergency Initiative, Pascal Achinine, to help us make sense of all of this. Pascal, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Great.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Now, it is no longer news that about 2,000 people have been placed on travel ban. But the comments that
passports suspended.
Yeah, passports suspended. But the comments a lot of people have made is that beyond just banning or suspending their passports, there should have been prosecutions as a way of deterrence.
In other countries, first let's commend that the government expressed that courage to take this step. It should be applauded that this is the first we are seeing as clear action from the government. It's very sad and painful and unfortunate that if you go, the same travelers where the countries where they came from, every rule and regulation they abide by it. But they come here, they throw caution to the wind. So the first step, a very important step that they have. They can travel. So first is even to interrogate the process that nobody will go back through the back door to secure his passports or
for the period of time.
Get himself or herself on ban for the 1 year. If machinery has been put in motion for such rigid process to be in place, that's a commendable step. But it's also important that even if, for that 1 year, even if it's community service, that's the sort of prosecution that should fit into this. Get them to go through some, we'll call it trials, but it will not be the sort of criminal sort of punishment, but expose them to community service. So it will be a sufficient deterrent to others. Because we don't lack the laws. We don't have. Well, the only challenge we have is enforcement. So if this is enforced to the latter, I think it will send the right signal to everybody that Nigeria is serious about this. Because check the figure. We have 437 infections as of yesterday. To the extent as much as Nigeria is conducting tests for limited number of Nigerians, not many. We are not conducting tests as much as adequately. So if we have 437, it means that the variant, the COVID is still here. And even I spoke to somebody in Singapore yesterday, and she said that they have imposed lockdown again. And these were places that things have worked so well. They were commended, celebrated for proactive measures they took in combating COVID, but the variant is back, and they had to impose a lockdown. So we recognize that we must avoid a situation where when it gets out of hand, we can't manage it. These are one of the minimum steps the government should take. Go ahead with prosecution.
Now, the point there is how, when it comes to implementing laws to the latter, it's part of what Nigerians have often complained about and, observed, one concern or the other. Because at that time when there were restrictions and people come in and they are not being able to trace, we recall at a time when the Ministry of Health, and in fact, even Lagos State Government had said that people were using addresses that were not traceable or using fake addresses and all of that. What do you make of that when it comes to people themselves who should help to safeguard themselves or safeguard anyone else, even their family members?
Let's look at it from this context. So there are things we should have done yesterday. One of them is to have data. We don't have data. So if somebody inputs a fake address, if we have a digitized data system or database, we should be able to punch and verify whether it is existing or not. So, but we can't live in yesterday. So what can we do differently? And again, we recognize that because people see, let's also put it in perspective. Nigerians see the conduct and lifestyle of our leaders, the politicians, and they feel that they don't walk their talk outside of COVID. And even within COVID, you still see gatherings, you see political gatherings. So that discourages those who typically would have conducted themselves in conformity with the laws. So we must, that is to put it in context. From the psychological context, it's important to put that. What we are talking about now is our lives. So all hands must be on deck. So if somebody imposes a fake address, there must be ways and means. So planning for a pandemic requires that, okay, if you have seen this gap, you identify potential remedies that will ensure that when somebody presents a fake address, there must be a local agent, a local volunteer, a local partner that will verify whether it could be within 48 hours, it could be within 72 hours. And anyone that presents fake address, you also take the part of enforcement. Prosecute the person, because that's fraud. So you prosecute the person so that those who hear that XYZ persons were persecuted or face some sentence because they provided fraudulent information, they will not dare it. So those are, at least you may not be able to cover 100%, but you can use some as a deterrent. It's very important that you must intentionally plan, intentionally take measures to enforce.
When it comes to this COVID-19 test, vaccination, and all of that, there are people who still feel that, we're still waiting. Let's watch and see. The watch and see people, who are still waiting to take the vaccine. No, not now. Let's watch and see. Even people who are really highly enlightened, and some people, are scheduled to travel abroad and all of that, and then we hear that some go to the level of getting fake, documents to endorse themselves or certificates that they have gotten this or gotten that. The United Kingdom had reacted to this recently.
It's a tragedy for us as a nation that the documents and communications from Nigerians are not, many don't trust it. Whether it's our university certificate, vaccination of yellow fever, and now COVID-19. And there have been rampant cases of people who have been generating fake COVID cards or numbers, and that has put a question mark on the integrity of how the process is conducted. Of course, when the environment is systemic with corruption, it would impact on every aspect of your national life. So the UK, they said, okay, that Nigeria is, they are moving Nigeria to other countries, other nations. There's one categorization they did recently. So moving us from, even though you've been vaccinated, they say that the vaccines being administered here are genuine, but the documentation that comes out of the process, some of them, they cast doubt about it. And it's also happening in Ghana. Very horrible experience for Nigerians are going through in Ghana. You go to Ghana, they don't recognize the vaccine here. They put you in a government facility where you're paying 70,000 per day, and you go through another test. The test, they said they are questioning the test from Nigeria. But coming back to the issue of vaccination, so there are persons who, because of the reaction and the posture expressed by the UK, some who wanted to take the vaccine are now pulling back. There are also persons who, because of several conspiracy theories and issues, and of course there have been also some after effect of the vaccine on some people who took it. But I want to put it this way: there's a lot of advocacy, enlightenment, sensitization that need to go into this process to get more people to take the vaccine. I have taken the vaccine. I also, the way my view about it is that the vaccine is, even though, yes, people have questioned that it came too early, in less than 2 years, vaccines take 10 years to develop, but we also, the two options. Would you like to contract the virus and perhaps lose your life, or would you want to take the vaccine and enhances your chances of
survival?
So those are, is not a, I know that because of several, even this resistance hesitation is not only in Nigeria. If you go to some states in the US and other parts of the world, people are still having some hesitation. But it requires more engagement and providing, locally too, some of our experts could also provide, especially those who have taken the vaccine, could also provide insights that, okay, this is the components I mean, when you're addressing a market woman, it's different from when you're addressing an enlightened community. But they must find ways of relating to all, communicating to all in the language they will positively understand.
Now, besides the Delta variant, there's also the Mu variant that has been discovered and is spreading in South America and parts of Europe and all of that. I wonder how, someone has said that it seems COVID-19 has come to stay, as in, if in Nigerian parlance they say pata pata, which means as in it has come to stay. So we have to live with it somehow, one way or the other. Because from one variant, you have another variant, and then you have another variant, and it's mutating here and there.
The mutation is typically viruses mutate. But the challenge with this is that most of the viruses we've seen over the years, especially since the Spanish influenza of the early 19th century, 20th century, we've not had anyone that has threatened humanity as much as this. It's not likely that this will also be the last variant, this new recent one. But it is all for the humanity to unite. I think what is lacking here is that synergy. People are trying to build nationalistic tendencies on, okay, let's do this and protect our borders, protect our citizens. But there's still international travel. So I think, from Africa, for instance, I have this conviction that if African scientists roll their sleeves, they will find significant mileage in addressing this. Most of these things can can provide homegrown solution, but that does not mean, because the reality is that by next month, it will be clocking, the virus will be clocking 2 years from the time it was discovered in China. And everybody thought it was going to be a 6 months, 3 months event. But experience is
pandemic.
Yes, pandemic. So humanity must unite. Okay. They must invest more across. And we'll look forward that we can have a normal life back.
All right. Yes. Thank you so much, Pascal Achinine, Executive Director, Health Emergency Initiative. Thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Great.
Thank you.